I mean, you have a unique perspective, man, because you've worked for and played for Coach Knight, but you've also worked for Brad Stevens as well, man. So, what are the similarities between the two, and also what makes them different coaches achieving the same goal of winning?
Well, I said this in an article when I first took the job at Butler that
Mhm.
the guy was asking a question about how different they were, and I talked about how similar. And the guy couldn't fathom,
Right, right,
you know, but they're very similar. And honestly, AJ, like whether it's been Coach Knight or Brad Stevens or now Mick Cronin or Chris Holtman, Tim Miles. Like I've been really lucky with the guys that I've worked for.
absolutely.
Mike Miller, who was the head coach of the Knicks, interim head coach for the New York Knicks.
Mhm.
I worked for him when we were at Eastern Illinois. But all those guys um, were for the most part about the same things, and they wanted the same things in their program, and they wanted the results of those things. And now how they go about getting those are completely different, right? But the core tenets of what Brad and what Coach Knight wants in the program are very, they want good guys, do the things the right way, operate at a high level, overachieve, care about the program, just about being about the right things, right? Ultra competitive, all this stuff. Now, the buttons that they push every day to get those characteristics out of their guys, they're opposite ends of the spectrum. They're also coaching at different times in our society.
Right, yeah,
I
true.
think Coach Knight was the best at what he did at his time.
Mhm.
There's no question. Like I'll argue that for days. Like it, and then I think Brad was at a high level when he was doing his thing, and now he's moved off from the front. But I still consider him a great friend and one of the better coaches in the world. I think right now I work for one of the best coaches in college basketball.
Mhm.
I
Definitely.
truly believe that with Mick, and I think he's at a place now that he gets to show that he's one of the best coaches in college basketball. And so I've been really fortunate from that standpoint of being around different guys and seeing how they've done it and how you can achieve success in different ways, right?
Right.
And I think that goes back to hopefully, when I get my opportunity, like I told you earlier, I'm very secure in who I am as a person. Like I don't really, I'm not, when I envision myself as a head coach, I'm not going to try to be Bob Knight. I'm not going to try to be Mick Cronin. I'm not going to try to be Brad Stevens or, anybody else. I'm going to try to be me. Now I've been shaped and formed by all those men, right?
Right. Mhm.
Um, and I believe in what all of them stand for, but
Mhm.
I'll have my own way to go about it. And I'm secure enough in myself to just, be me. And it's been good enough up until this point in my career. I'm gonna go ahead and roll with it.
Absolutely. How did you what was this decision into getting into coaching after you graduated from IU? What was that process? How did you get into coaching? Who made the calls for you? Who helped you out to get that process going?
Well, at the end of my senior year, coach called me in, and I'd gotten invited to that Portsmouth deal, and I
Mhm.
didn't belong in that, like, but I'd gotten an invite to that thing, and then that's basically what Coach Knight told me, right, right when he handed it to me. Like he's like, "Hey man, this is really big for you. I'm happy for you. You're gonna get an opportunity to go to this pre-draft camp and kind of show what you do. You can do, and that's a hell of an accomplishment for you. But then he goes, but what do you really want to do? Like basically, like, look, dude, you're not,
Right.
you're not that, and I was still, we probably had like a month left in our season. I don't know when those things went out, but I said, coach, I think, I'm not ready to be done playing. Like, if I got to go overseas, I think I'd like to, try to play.
Mhm.
And he's like, you got to get it out. You got to get it out. He goes, but then, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I think I want to coach. And he's like, oh my God. He starts going through the whole thing. Like, oh my, you want to end up like me? You want to coach guys like you? Like, I mean, like, yeah, he gives you all that, all for show. Right.
Right. Yep.
And then once he calmed down from that, he was like, he goes, I thought that is what you might say. And he goes, I think you'd be great at it.
Mhm.
And
Awesome.
and so then he's like, would you rather be well liked or well respected? And I started to answer. He's like, no, 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 no. He's like, you think about that. And I was like, well, so I thought about it. I was like, I'd rather be well respected. He goes, well, good. Then you can coach. And he said,
Right.
because you're going to make decisions that aren't going to be popular. He goes, you're going to make mistakes. and you're going to have to, learn from them, live with, stand by them. But he goes, if you're going to go through life as a coach and try to be everybody's best friend and be well liked, you're not going to be any good. But if you take the things that are presented to you and you try to make the best decision at that time, and you're secure enough to roll with it and learn from them as you go, and just be well respected for the work that you do, then you've got a chance to be a coach. And he's basically like, when that time comes, give me a call.
Right.
So,
I mean, and Coach Knight gets let go around that time, man. What was your thoughts about that whole situation, how it was handled by Indiana University, and because did you go to Texas Tech with Coach at some point?
Yeah, his second season.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I played in the CBA, which is now the G League.
Yeah.
So I played in the CBA for a year, and then I went. I had a deal in Belgium my second year out, and so I went over there and got cut. Mm-hmm. And when I landed back in the States, like on September 9th, and that was when September 11th happened.
Wow.
So then I knew, like, I'm actually the guy I was working with at the time, my agent he called and was like, hey, I know you just got back, but there's a team in Cyprus that would like to sign you. Would you be interested in going to Cyprus? And I'm like, are you in your office? Because he worked in DC. Mm-hmm. I'm like, are you in your office? He's like, yeah. I'm like, do you know they just flew a plane into the Pentagon? He's like, what are you talking? Like, yeah, right. Yeah, sure. I want to go to Cyprus right now. Like, are you, like, right. And he's like, what? He's like, I'll have to call you back. So like 2 or 3 days go by, man. And he calls back and he's like, so, hey, what a crazy, he starts about a crazy time, this and that. He goes, but the team in Cyprus is interested. Could you be on a plane tomorrow? I was like, dude, I'm done. Right. I was like, look, I appreciate everything you've done for me, all the help, but I was like, I'm not an NBA player. Like, and I know what I want to do, and I know where I want to be, in my future, and I'm just going to get started on that right now. So right. I'd already, in those days, I talked to Pat and Coach, and they were at Texas Tech that year, just getting things going. And they said I could come down there in the summer, work camps, and then be a GA the next year. So I knew what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be, and I had played enough afterwards and saw enough that I wasn't a pro, and so right. I knew I wanted to get into coaching, and I was going to take advantage of the opportunity. So
right. Mm-hmm. What was that invitation like from Coach Knight to coach at Texas Tech?
It was good. Now I went down there, and I get down there. Nicole and I had gotten married, and so we get down there, and like one of the first jobs he has me do, he's like, get in the car. We go out to his house, and it's Lubbock, Texas. I mean, it's right. Desert. It's West Texas. It's hot as, it's hot as hell out there. And he puts me in the garage. He hands me one of those yellow legal pads, and he's got all these books in his garage. And he's like, I want you to sit down and write the title of the book, the author of the book. And then he goes, if you can open up the cover, like sometimes they have a price on it, you write the price down. He goes, if it doesn't have a price on it, just guess based on how it looks compared to the other books. Right. Right. I did that for a day and a half, bro.
Really?
Like I'm sure when he gave me that notepad, like I'm sure I gave him some look like, are you kidding me? Like, right, yeah. And it was funny because he goes, what, you just want to be the head coach at UCLA tomorrow? He's like,
oh, really?
And I'm like, he goes, it's a process, right. Like it doesn't just happen, like, right. Well, like basically welcome, like you're not a player anymore.
Yeah.
Like, even though you can go out there and practice and, you play with those guys and still be able to do stuff, like you're not a player anymore. You're a coach. I think that was kind of his way of like,
down. Yep.
So I sat in there, man, I was sweating and I'm like, I'm cussing, the whole thing. I'm writing all that stuff down. And basically, he turned all that stuff into, he donated all those books, I think, to the library. But he needed that for a tax write-off. That's what he needed.
Oh, that's what
he needed, Yeah, he come out and check on me every once in a while, but I'm just sitting in there, man. I remember that, man. That stands out. But it was neat, AJ, because that was it was good to see him because as players, like you're so self-absorbed and you just see the end product of like a scouting report, all those things. But to be at Texas Tech and to watch him intermingle in the office and how he's set up each day and how much he planned just for a practice or a drill in practice, how much thought went into a practice plan, let alone a game plan. was really cool, because then you start to see all the whole other side of how he worked and operated, and so it was an unbelievable learning experience. I got a master's degree out of it, and I wasn't real fired up about that. Like when he told me after money, he's like, "Now you're going back to school," and I'm like, "No, like I'm not going back." Like he goes, "No, you're going back to school because that's the only way you're coming down here is you're going to go back to school." So, but that's how, he had it set up. That's how I got like a little stipend and all that stuff. But man, it was a great time, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity, because it really got got my foot in the door from a coaching standpoint, and allowed me to learn at a pretty high level, and to see him, like I said, to see him do that every day, and be able to relate to different things that happened, like while we played. And it was a really cool thing, and something that I'm very thankful that he allowed me to do that and invited me down there to get started.
Yeah, man. And also it's been a lot of turnover when it comes to Indiana men's basketball coaches since you've been coaching. When you was watching that process play out as an assistant coach at an institution, no matter where you were, what type of guy were you hoping that Indiana was going to hire at that time for the program? And do you think they found the right guy and in Mike Woodson this time?
Well, I think what I've been hoping for the whole time is what they have now. They have one of us, right? They have a guy that understands Indiana basketball, and is that a prerequisite? Like you have to have, like, no, I don't believe that. It not everywhere. Like I don't think everybody has to do that, but Indiana's not everywhere.
Right. Yep.
And we're not, like, and people say, well, you haven't been Indiana in 20 some years. Well, that's fine. Right. But how we're going, the only way to get back to that is to bring it back. Right. Exactly. And to people that understand what it was, that can relate and can tell old stories, and like, no, we don't do it this way. This is how we do it. And are, can change with the modern times. Like we can still be who Indiana is. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got to have, and so I'm happy that the Woody's there. I'm happy it's one of us, a guy that understands what it's like to take the floor at Assembly Hall. He understands what it's like to run into Mackey Arena and play Purdue. Yeah. He and I've said this a lot of times when it was going on. Like we're not like everybody else, and if we accept being like everybody else, that's the first downfall. And I think we have. For a period of time, and it's we can't accept that anymore. We got to get back to being what Indiana is and what it means, because it means too much to too many people.
Right.
Yeah. And whether it's players, fans, what have you, to college basketball. I think college basketball in general is better when Indiana is relevant.
Absolutely.
And so I think we have the fact that it's one of us. I'm extremely happy that it's one of us leading our program, and I'm fortunate. I haven't had a chance. I've only got to watch probably about a game and a half, and so it's hard to say my true feelings on what they're doing. I'm just happy that it's one of us leading the charge. I think Woody's obviously had a great coaching career, and for him to be able to come back and try to get this program back on solid ground where it can get back to being what we should be. I'm happy, and I hope. I think a lot of other former players are too. Now now you just got to go out and get the job done, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. And so my question is, you're in a coach's seat, man, and you've seen a lot of these coaches come and go. When you talk about being successful at a place like Indiana, what are some of the traps? Like, why isn't that, Coach Cronin, who's a phenomenal coach doing his thing in Georgia, developed a lot of talent, but just something was missing. And then Archie Miller, phenomenal coach, great defensive mind, had that part of the game rolling, but something was missing. And what part did you see that you felt was kind of missing?
Well, I think
to get them guys over the hump to be there long term.
I think when you're the basketball coach at Indiana, and I think there's probably a handful of other programs similar. I don't think there's 20,
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think there's, let's just say between 5 and 10 programs that are similar, right? You've got to understand first and foremost, when you're the head basketball coach in Indiana, you're not just a basketball coach.
Right.
You're the face of that state. You're the pseudo governor of that state.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of you have to accept it, and you have to, in my opinion, you have to embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think not everybody's built for that. I think everybody calls it a fishbowl, like or stress or I look at it as opportunity.
Opportunity.
You got an opportunity to make a huge impact on so much more than, let's just say, 15 individuals in a locker room.
Right.
I think you have to embrace that, and you have to be able to accept that maybe your personal life or your privacy as it is not the same anymore. It's going to be different. Like Rab Johns is going to be tweeting what high school gym you walked in. He's going to be tweeting he's hiding out. And he wants to know what rental car you got. It's just part of it, right? What's kind of dressing you got on your salad. But there's parts of that I'm sure get old, but you have to embrace that, and then you have to have an appreciation for the history of the program. And a lot of people don't want to pay attention to it, but the history of the program is what makes Indiana so attractive. Until the present day gets to be where it's matching the history is what we have right now, right? And so we have to do everything we can to embrace that, bring those guys back. And who better to help connect the past than somebody that's played it? I don't know Mike Woodson well, but I feel a connection to him because he went through the same things I did.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? He played for the same man that I played for, and what I think one thing we do have to get over is, hey, we played for Bob Knight. These guys played for Davis. These guys played for Crean. These guys, they're. And I think that's a process, and we're getting to that, because let's face it, man, some of us Coach Knight guys, we're the youngest ones there are.
Yeah, we sure are.
You and me, we're his last class, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, those guys are getting older, and to just be able to show, you go to Duke, you look at Duke, right? The whole now Coach K's been there 100 years, but that's what when I was choosing Indiana. That's what I envisioned Indiana being. That's the only coach I knew at Indiana.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's the only coach. Name the guy before Coach K at Duke. You can't name him. I guarantee you can't name him. Right?
I had no idea.
So that's all they know. And now, whether Shire works out or not, nobody knows. But they're protecting that with everything that they possibly can. And I think that's what we have to do in Indiana. We got to protect our program with stewards of the program that know what it stands for, what it means, right? And what it can be, right? Because nobody today, these high school, they don't know what Indiana can be. They've never seen it.
You've never seen it before.
Never seen it. So we've got to do everything we can to, one, protect it, and two, get the ball rolling to where we can be who we should be. And so I think that's the step in the process that we're in right now.
Do you think any programs like that, the top tier programs, can build through 4-year players again like it did in the past?
I think you have to have a mix.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you are seeing this year with the super seniors and the COVID, I just saw a stat today that of the Power 5 programs, there's a very limited number of freshmen that are averaging 20 minutes or more. Mm-hmm. Because some of those older guys are back, and it takes time to adjust to the college game. We talked about that earlier, just how how different it is. I do think there's a combination that you have to have. I think you have to be able to, any good coach is going to be able to utilize what they have in front of them to put the best team out there. Probably more today than when we played, from a year-to-year basis. Right. Okay. How good can I get this team this year? Right. And whether you're bringing transfers in, freshmen in, or you've got guys that are in your program, how good is that roster that you can build each and every year? And are you building it with the right type of people that you can mold into a team? Right. Because that's the bottom line. You can have a team full of talent, but if you can't, the pieces have to fit, right? They have to fit. And then can you get them to to play as a team, I think is the biggest challenge, because you don't have that time to develop these guys. Like it was when we played over 4 years. But I do think you can. I think ultimately, if you can have, look at like what we're trying to do here at UCLA. Like we've got everybody back from last year's team, right? We added a key transfer, Miles Johnson from Rutgers, that we gave us something that we didn't have, length and size on the interior, and then we added, Peyton Watson, who was a McDonald's All-American, who's, I think, in the top 20 on draft boards, and he comes off the bench for us. So, but he's an ultimate talent, and he's going to be a great player. Is he great right now? No, but he's working every day. You can see the improvement that he's made from the day he walked in our gym to where he is now. Right. And it's our job as coaches to make sure that by the end of the season, he's making an impact on a really good basketball team. Right. That's the thing. Like, it's going to be hard with a veteran team for guys to come in and make a huge impact, on us. And we got everybody back. We got Johnny Juzang, Jules Bernard, and Jaime Jaquez that play on the wing. Well, those are 3 of the top 25 wings in college basketball.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be hard, like what I'm saying doesn't mean you're a bad player.
Right.
But, people get in such a rush to get to the next destination that they sometimes take away from what they're going through at that time, and just get better every day. Okay. And that stuff at the end is going to take care of it. Peyton Watson is going to be an NBA All-Star, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But it's difficult right now, not for him. He's an unbelievable kid. He's got a great mindset, but it's difficult for people outside of our program. Like, well, he's supposed to be, well, he is that. Yeah. He's just not in a place right now that he can go out. Like, he's not going to play 30 minutes a game for us right now. Now he could do that and be on a bad team if you want to go be on a bad team, right. But he's an excellent player. He's going to be an NBA player. He's going to make a ton of money. I'm probably going to be asking him for a loan one day, but it's difficult to do that. And then when you look at next year's team, like, we don't know who we're going to lose off this year's team. Right. Exactly. We have some guys that could go early. We have a senior or two that could come back for another year if they want. You're not going to take that opportunity away from guys. So, our recruiting's going extremely well. We've got 3 guys committed. They're all in the top 30 in the country. I would say at least 2, if not all 3 of them will be McDonald's All-Americans. But we don't know what else we're going to need until at the end of the season, when we know what guys are going to have, NBA opportunities in front of them. So we're building our program. We're trying to recruit the best in the country, which we've had some success in doing. We're also happy with the guys that we have in our program, because they're better. They've developed and they've grown as players. And then you also have that transfer portal, that if you lose somebody late, you can maybe, get a free agent to come in and plug up a hole for a year or two. So it's an interesting time to be a college coach. And I think the biggest thing is the roster management. The number one job of a college coach is recruiting. That's an everyday thing. And, managing your roster, I think is a challenge. And you see that with Indiana. They brought in some transfers, that filled some holes. And are they better than what was there? Hopefully, but like, until you are getting, until you have multiple guys that are upper tier, Big Ten level players, good coaches are good coaches because they've had good players, right? When you get out on the floor and the talent level is equal, right, or very similar, the coaching can bring you up or down, right? But if you've got one team with talent level up here and another down here, there's only so much you can do, and so we feel like we've got some pretty good players out here that allow us to compete at a level that we want to compete at.
And I brought that up because, first of all, that's the toughest job for you guys nowadays, is building a consistent program with the same guys. But when we talk about Indiana basketball, they won because they were old. They all the good teams were really older guys, juniors, seniors, and always worried about how they Duke did a great job of adjusting, and they would snatch a what's his name, a Zion Williamson, and they would snatch a Elton Brand or somebody that was a one and done, but they were managing to keep it going. And I was just wondering how much of a challenge that is, man. And that's when people say we want to go back to being IU. It's like, well, IU was IU because they were experienced, they got older together, they stayed together. But how do you duplicate that when, like you just talked about earlier, you talked about the what's his name, Peyton, what's his name?
Peyton Watson.
Peyton Watson. It really comes down to whether or not he cares about the process of becoming great, or forget Coach Lewis, man. He said I was gonna play this year, I'm out. You can easily get that too. And that just really puts you guys in a bind when it comes to actually establishing, all right, man, in 2 years we could be good. You guys can't say that anymore, can you? Like in 2 years.
one year at UCLA, you don't want to have I think that's part of the draw here and what we've been able to do very quickly. Like we're all here to win a national championship. We're not, nobody's shying away from that. Players, coaches, whatever. We're here to hang the 12 banner. And to do that, you've got to be able to get quality people in your program.
Yeah.
Right? What age they are doesn't really matter. If we feel like Peyton Watson can help our team win a national championship, and then yes. If he's here 6 months and has a chance to go to the NBA, go. Like you're not allowed back here. Like if you're a first round draft pick, you're not allowed back here, man.
Right.
You gotta go. Like that's part of our process. And I think that's the cool thing about being a college coach is you're dealing with kids that are 18 to 22 years old. They're away from their parents or their guardians, whatever, for the first time in their life. They're starting to develop their own. That whole process and the development process is what really attracts me to college coaching. I think that's a really cool thing. And when you're around guys 2, 3, 4 years and you kind of see that growth, it's really cool. But if a guy can be here 6 months and go do you're going to go. These people that say, oh, he's not, it doesn't matter if he's ready. Somebody's willing to pay him.
You're right.
He's got it doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. Like, hey, you want to be the CEO of Eli Lilly? Yeah. Well, you're not ready. You shouldn't take it. No. Right. I'll take it. I'm in. Let's go. Right.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So you can't and too many people my career as a coach, my earning potential hopefully continues to grow the older I get. And in most people's careers, they grow, they get better at their craft, and their career continues to grow as they get older.
Yeah.
Okay? An athlete, every day that goes by, it shrinks.
Yeah, it does.
Right? You're fighting father time, right?
Yeah.
And it's undefeated. And so I have a problem when people say, well, he's not ready. Stop. That part doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Somebody's willing to pay. It's what the market is. And so what we try to do here is we're going to chase the best players in the country. We're going to try to attract the best people in the country. When they're here, we're going to work with them like hell every day to help them chase their dreams and achieve their dreams, right? The one thing that we do is that we're very honest in the recruiting process. We don't make empty promises. We don't tell them they're going to start. We don't tell them how many shots they're going to get. We don't tell them how much money, NIL, or any of that. We don't make any promises.
Right.
What we do promise them is they got an opportunity to be at UCLA.
Yeah.
Got an opportunity to put those 4 letters on your chest, and you get to reap the benefits of everything that represents. Definitely. And we also promise them our complete dedication to help them get better. And whether you're here 6 months, because we're on a quarter system, or you're here 4 or 5 years, that's our promise to you. We're going to work every day to try to help you get better.
Awesome.
Okay? You're going to get to live in this environment.
Right,
you get to play in Poly Pavilion. You get to practice under 12 or 11 national championship banners, and we're trying to hang number 12.
Right.
You want to you want to be a part of this or not?
Right.
Yeah. and that's we've had some success with that. There's no BS in our recruiting. We're very honest, very upfront, and we've attracted the type of guys that. Listen, we know when guys are coming in, what their goals are, right? And we know the realistic opportunity for those guys to achieve those goals. So whether they're here 6 months or 2 years, right? All we ask, you give us everything you got. We're going to give you everything we got in return. Mm-hmm. But while you're here for those 6 months, you're trying to win for UCLA.
Right, no doubt.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And luckily we've had some success. Now we've turned down or not recruited some guys that we didn't think that were very talented, that we didn't think fit that.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we've made our best decisions is who we've decided to recruit, and who we've ultimately got to come to UCLA, because we've got the right guys that they've got lofty expectations and big time goals, which we want. We don't want guys that don't want to do that. Like, if you don't want to be a pro, don't come here.
Right. Yeah. No
It's not
doubt.
it's not the environment for you, because you've got everybody else trying to be that.
Right.
Okay. So you're not going to fit. If you're not about being a pro, you're not going to fit here. Okay.
Right.
But we also have guys that are trying to win, and they're not trying to do their own thing to sacrifice a W for our team. We're trying to win for those 4 letters. And when you get that combination of individuals in a gym, then you can do what we did last year and be in the conversation again this year.
Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time, because they're offering a $250 match bonus for our first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play to turn your money into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With football season kicking off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So would you say that Indiana basketball should be thinking the same way you're thinking right now?
I don't know. I'm not in that building. I don't
No,
know.
I don't mean like directly. I mean, like, should they be thinking, bring in those kind of guys? You know what I mean? Or do you build like we talked about Indiana used to be? I think that's really the dilemma that people don't really understand. I'll be trying to get coaches who are in the game and understand it like you to really explain that. Like, okay, you guys are upset because of Thomas Bryant leaves early or OG Anunoby leaves early. You know, you look at these guys thinking, I think one of them, I think it's supposed to be a senior in college right now or last year. Like, that's how young they are. But today's game is like, if you want to be the old Indiana, then you can't really go after kids like that, or your success will be short-lived. So that's what I meant by, like, do you think the bigger programs like Kentucky and Duke all should have that kind of mindset, including Indiana, because we thought Indiana was the place for the 4-year guy, the developmental.
Yeah, I think Indiana needs to try to get the best possible individual that is about Indiana.
Right. That's
right.
the key. Yep.
Whether now it was you also got to take into account, AJ, when the old heads say, well, Indiana used to have 4-year play. Well, dudes didn't leave school early.
Right. True that. That's what exactly. But I'm saying that's what the fans remember though. They don't understand it.
Yeah. That's and so the time is different. So I don't think and so you can't be so narrow-minded to say, like, if you got a chance to go recruit Romeo Langford, right? You better go get him, right? Now, you better coach him too now. Right. Like, you can't like that's the thing where I think we've had success in our recruiting process and in how we've coached and developed guys is they understand when they're at UCLA, like, they have a pretty good understanding of what UCLA is, what it stands for, what it can do for them. And that's because they've been recruited that way.
Right.
I don't think you can go after, and maybe, we're in a different situation of, but you can't, and I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying you do see it where people will kind of go outside their norm to get a one and done. Right. And then because of how they've gone about it in a recruiting process, it's harder to hold those dudes accountable and coach them on a daily basis.
Right. Yes. Right?
They kind of got the program held hostage in a way. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you got to be a strong enough individual to not only be able to sell your opportunity at Indiana and this and that to one of those guys and attract one of them. You also got to be a strong enough individual to coach them and hold accountable and make sure they understand why they're there. Right. And I think that starts very early on in the relationship of as you're going through the recruiting process. There's got to be some very clear expectations, and people say, "Oh, you can't do it that way." No, you can, because we do it every day.
Right.
We do it every day. And if that individual doesn't want to be a part of our program, like I said, like, I could go through names and you'd be like, man, why didn't you guys do? Well, no fit here.
Right. Yeah.
It
Exactly.
wouldn't have worked here. And you have to be okay with that, because you can win at a high level with the right guys.
Right.
And you can also have a program torn apart if you take the wrong ones, and you see it every day in college basketball. You see it happening all the time. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think you focus on the character and the character of the individuals that you're recruiting, and try to attract the best people you can. And if you get a combination of a high level athlete and talented player and an unbelievable person, you take them for the 6 to 9 months you got them, try to make them better, and then let them go on, because they're going to do more for that university and your program by their success after than anything that they probably could of staying for future years. Like you can't, fans, I love them because they pay my bills, because they keep buying, they're buying subscriptions or whatnot and all this stuff. But fans can get very selfish, right? Right. They can get very selfish. And I get it, like it'd be easy for us coaches to get selfish too. Like, I would love to have Peyton Watson for 4 years. It'd be great. It'd make my job a lot easier. But listen, that's not why I'm here. I'm in this business to watch that kid on draft night and to watch him become an NBA All-Star, right? And it's crazy I'm saying that, because he comes off the bench for our team.
Right? Yeah. Damn.
But that's just part of where it is. He's an 18-year-old kid, right? Mm-hmm. Jules Bernard is 22 years old, played 4 years of college basketball, and he's a really good player. Right? It's much more difficult than people think, and people think you just snap your fingers and it happens. That's not how it goes down. And so, I'm more about the investing in the kids and the people, and trying to help them. Like that's the coolest part for me. But to do that, you have to recruit the right guys, and I think you can and I think at Indiana you can still do that. And if you can't right now, mm-hmm. well, then get the best players and best people you possibly can now. Win, mm-hmm. become more attractive to those guys. Let those guys, well, wait a minute. If they're doing it with this guy, all right, and he look at the success that he's having at Indiana and post Indiana, man, what could those guys do with me?
Right, definitely. Yeah, right? I love that.
So you got to go. Like, but it's not. Too many people, and I'll use us as an example. I think it plays into Indiana's hands as well. When we took over this program, we didn't run anybody off. Like, we didn't say, hey, you don't belong here. Like Mick was not going to do that. He's not going to take an opportunity away from guys that have a UCLA degree, right? Right. It's the number one public institution in the country for like the last 10 years. So he's not going to take that opportunity away, because you're not going to go somewhere better than here. Like, you're not going to leave here and wind up somewhere better. So he's not going to take that opportunity away. But we didn't just start winning games and go to a Final Four because they made a coaching change, okay? Because we didn't bring in any new players. So we played for a conference championship in year one with the same players that they had the year before. Mm-hmm. New coach, but those players changed.
Right, yeah.
Those players changed. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just bring Mike Woodson in and all of a sudden you're going to win games because there's a different guy on the sideline.
Right, yeah. Right?
If those players don't change, and when I say change, they change their mentality, change mm-hmm. their work habits, become coachable, more coachable. Like, mm-hmm. I think I've watched a game and a half, and I don't know enough about him, so the comment, but I think there's been a big jump in Trace Jackson Davis's effort.
Right, yeah. Definitely.
He's a really good college player, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not.
Definitely.
But how hard he plays in his effort, he's changed. Mm-hmm. You got a chance. But if he wasn't going to change, there's nothing Mike Woodson can do to change. So the key to success and why we've had success here is the coach changed, but the players changed.
Right.
And it didn't happen overnight. Like we weren't very good that first year at Christmas time.
Right.
Then I think we won like 11 of 12 or something down the stretch. And we lost the Pac-12 championship on a fadeaway 3 at the buzzer, and then COVID happened.
Right, yeah.
Next year we go to the Final Four. Right, we added a couple pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, but basically the heart of that team is the same, and we go to the Final Four because those players changed. They changed. They realized, like, listen, maybe I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and so what can I do different? What can I do more? How can my approach be different? And when you get that combination of the players changing, all right, holding themselves more accountable, and wanting to be more successful and open-minded to where, you know, maybe I was part of the problem, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get myself better. And then you get a dynamite coach like Mick, then you can do what we're trying to do out here. But it takes a combination. It's not just a coaching change.
Right.
It's just not. And it's much easier, and I'm glad it's that way, to blame adults than it is kids.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
You know, but it's, you know, for I love, like, you know, a kid misses a free throw, right? Oh man, Lewis can't coach free throw. I'm like, hey man, like get your 70-year-old ass out there in front of 17,000. The kid ain't trying to miss it,
right?
And I'm not up there shooting it for him, right? Right. But you know what they don't see is I was in that gym with that kid, all right, for a half hour after every practice, and you know he's making 80%. Okay. What can we do to get him to shoot 80% in the game? Like it's a different level, right? And there's more to it than just like, oh, shoot free, like, you know. But I always love that the guy misses a free throw and it's like the air gets sucked out.
Right.
You know,
or
like,
open shot or anything like.
Oh, I used to never miss free throws when I played. You know, we never missed. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
1,000%, huh? Okay. Yeah. Hey, so was there any chance in the past that you were close to returning to IU as an assistant or any form, or you never really even looked into those opportunities as they were coming on?
No, that wouldn't be. That would not be fair. I would say that there's probably been on 2 occasions that I was really close to coming back.
Right.
You know, and both of them are interesting in timing and circumstance, to be quite honest with you. But obviously, you know, that I care a lot about that program, AJ. Absolutely. Like you know, like I'm not a guy that says, oh, it means more to me than anybody else. But I will say this: it doesn't mean more to anybody else than it does me.
Right.
You know, there's a list of what that place means to people. Like I'm gonna be, and it may just be it may be a singular line. We're all at the same spot, but like I'm at that line, right? But it's an opportunity that you know, I think it's in a good place. Like we talked about this with Woody. I think it's in a good place. I'm at a place in my career. Like, listen, I've talked about Mick a little bit. I think he's one of the best in the business, and I think he's at a place where he can showcase that he's one of the best coaches in the business. I've worked for some unbelievable people.
Absolutely, man.
Like you see where, like, it's December 20th. I'm sitting out in a hoodie and I got a hat on so I don't sunburn my head. Like,
right.
It's good from that standpoint. And we're in the conversation, you know, of, you know, any year it could be, you know, 4 to 6, it could be 6 to 10, or maybe up to 15 teams that, you know, have a legit chance to win a national championship. Right. We're in that conversation. We've got a really good team. Our recruiting is going extremely well. That I think we're going to be in that conversation for years to come. I don't know, and I've worked really hard in my career to get here. Right, like I'm not a guy that you know, maybe rode a silver spoon or different things. Like I've eaten pregame meals at Ponderosa, right? I've measured bus trips by movies, right? Like that's a 3-movie trip. That's a long one, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And because of all those experience I've had, I appreciate where I'm at and who I get. I work on an unbelievable staff. Like I'm the youngest assistant coach in our staff. I work with veteran guys that are outstanding coaches, outstanding teachers, and that have no ego. They're not selfish guys. Right. You know, you see it too many times in college basketball. Staffs don't get along because there's egos and all kinds of things involved. Like we don't have any of that, and that comes from the top down. That comes from Mick, you know, down. And I think that's why we've been able to get this thing going so quickly. Yeah. I don't know, and you never say never in our business because it's a crazy business, you know.
Crazy business.
March. I don't really see myself leaving here. To just be an assistant coach somewhere.
Right.
You know, now,
it's time.
If there's other things, like I want to be a head coach.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm
paid your dues.
Well, no, I don't think I
you don't think you paid your dues? Eastern?
I don't get into that. Like I don't get into that. I don't get into all. I feel like I'm prepared. That's what I feel like I'm prepared.
Oh, that's how they look at it at the coaching level. Like, did he pay his dues?
Yeah,
I think you're the guy who's definitely overpaid, and you probably should have been a head coach 5 years ago. That's just how I feel. Knowing you, knowing your acumen, knowing where you've been, who you've been on. You just mentioned you was under Coach Knight. You played for Coach Knight. You was under Coach Knight. Then you went to Eastern Illinois under Mike Miller, pro coach. Then you go to Brad Stevens. Then you go to Chris Holtman. Then you, like, come on, man. You just worked for probably, if there was a top 50 coaches ever, all those guys are in the top 50. Like, you know what I mean? So you're ready, man. It's that time. And I didn't ask that question about Indiana.
No.
I just was always wondered, did they really consider our guys? That's what at that time. And I know Dolson wasn't there. Everything was different, but our guys, Mike Lewis, Fife, Key Smart, Coward Chaney, Mike Woodson. I didn't even think about Mike because usually guys don't want to leave the luxurious style of the NBA to come back to college. So I never even really thought of him. But it was so many of you guys, Randy Whitman, that are just really in the game that deserve that phone call, that conversation. And long as I hear, you had that phone call and that conversation and you decided to continue on that right path.
Cool. I don't know if it's I decided or somebody else decided. I just, you asked it, I think there was 2 times that's been close.
Right. Yeah.
It just didn't work out for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
I'm not a guy, and I think I've gotten to where I'm at in my career because I'm not a guy that focuses too much on the future, and I don't reflect too much on the past. I learn and grow from the past, but I don't sit here and reflect on it, good or bad.
You're right. Yeah.
I just try to be as good as I can be at my job. And that's something Coach Knight taught me, like, hey, don't worry about your next job. Just do the job that you have as well as you can do it. And if you do it well enough, it'll lead to the next opportunity. And that has always held true in my career. I really like it out here. Like I told you, I really like my work setup here. And so I don't
look at your office.
Yeah, it's great, right? Honestly, I haven't been in my office in a year and a half because that's of COVID. Yeah, because of COVID. So we go into our practice facility and chop it up and then we get out, because of COVID reasons. But I want to be a head coach. I feel like I'm prepared, but my ego is not to where I feel like I got to take a job to take a job. Like I do understand that you may only get one shot at this. So I want it to be a situation where the athletic director, the president, and I have, share a very similar vision, and I want to work for somebody that doesn't want to sit up in the tower and judge. I want to work for an administration that wants to get in and lock arms and walk the path. Because I think that's where when you can have success. And so I feel like I'm prepared to do that, but I'm in no rush to get there. I think, opportunity will present itself when it's the right time. Right.
No doubt, man. And those who listen, I'm talking to my former teammate, backcourt mate, classmate, Mike Lewis, man. We finishing up House of Hoosier podcast here, man. And he just dropped a lot of jewels for you aspiring coaches and you coaches in the game on how to build a program, how to keep that program going, and what to look for in players. So man, I appreciate it, man. We're going to end off, man, with a segment that I call Hoosier 10, man. And I'm going to ask you 10 questions that only you can answer from your basketball and your experience in the Indiana uniform. So first question, man, what dorm or apartment did you stay in on campus each year?
Well, we talked about I was never in the dorm, probably one of my regrets. Oh boy, to remember them.
The names of them. Shout them out.
What, you and I and Collier that summer we lived in was a Varsity Villas.
Varsity Villas, right? Yep.
That was just for a summer, and then I went to Jackson Heights.
Shout out, Jason.
Hey man, could you imagine taking a recruit and saying, "Hey man, this is where you're going to stay," and it's Jackson Heights.
Heights, man.
No chance. No chance. We thought we were living at the Taj Mahal, man.
We sure did, man. Jackson Heights. I ain't heard that in so long, man.
Jackson Heights, and then my sophomore year, I think it was Arlington Crossing. It was you kept going past Jackson Heights before you got that turn. There was a small complex.
Yep.
Wrecker and Collier and myself and Murph and my buddy Phil Kendall. We lived in there, and then my senior year, we moved to that house on 14th Street.
Yep.
just down from the adult bookstore.
Right.
That was a treat. We were about 2 blocks, but yeah, there was those 2 houses, and each one was divided into 2 like 5-bedroom apartments, 3, and so we lived there my junior senior year. So that was good, man.
That trip down memory lane, Jackson Heights, man.
And we had a Mancino's down the street, so you could get easy delivery. It was good, man.
Right.
But yeah, Jackson Heights. Woo! We had 4 dudes. We had 2. We basically turned our apartment into a dorm. We just had a kitchen and a living room, but we had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and we built bunk beds in each room because we had 4 people in there.
Absolutely, so, man.
Rent was cheap though.
You kind of mentioned this a little bit. Who are all your roommates each year? You started out with Collier, and then who was your roommates the next 2 years?
Yeah, so a guy named Phil Kendall was a high school friend of mine. Andy Murphy was a manager for us for 4 years, and you know, some people, you know, he's dealing with ALS right now.
Yeah, how's Murph doing, man?
He's doing what he can do,
right?
You know, and fighting his fight. Like he's fighting the ultimate fight. You know,
right.
So, yeah. But then you know, Collier my freshman year, you know, with those guys. In my sophomore year, it was Jason and I. Wrecker moved in with us, and then Murph and Kendall, and then Jason left at Christmas, and then Jared Odell moved in with us. So it was Odell, myself, my buddy Murph, and then another high school friend of mine moved in for that year. He was a senior at IU at that time, and then he moved out my senior year, and Coverdale moved in. So
okay. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had another guy. Like I was full, and you know, they had sent Cov to prep school, and then he came back, and coaches called me in one day. He's like, "Hey, Coverdale's living with you." I was like, "Coach," I was like, "I got a guy." He's like, "No." He's like, "Coverdale's going to live with you. Like you're gonna take him." And so we had to kick a guy out and get Cov in there. So, but it worked out great. It worked out great. Cov he's one of a kind, man.
Absolutely. We had him on the show, man. He's one of my favorite interviews. He's
the best. He's the best because you know, like I'm in this business. I got to be a little bit reserved on my storytelling. Like he don't care. Like he don't give a damn. He don't care, right?
Yeah. I mean, was you shocked at the way when I saw that boy playing on TV, and I was
pissed. I was pissed because I'm like, yo, why didn't you play like this?
You know, exactly. Where you been, man? He was killing.
Oh, it's great.
I could not believe that. But anyway, for favorite restaurant to eat in during your time?
Well, you know, we didn't get to eat in unless we won a few games and coach felt good. Zagreb's,
yeah.
And Buffalo Louis, that was good. You know, I wasn't a big. I mean, I couldn't afford to go to Malibu Grill very often.
Right?
So,
yeah, nobody could.
You know, like it was funny. So my wife's birthday was yesterday, and so we were talking about. We used to go on dates in college to Red Lobster, man. We thought that was the biggest deal, man. We're going to those biscuits, those cheddar biscuits.
Yeah.
And you know, like we think about it, we laugh about it now. But yeah, that was a date night. That was a big night out. Was probably Red Lobster. But you know, all those places, man. I remember Western Sizzling.
Western Sizzling, yeah.
And then we ate a Steak and Shake so much, man. I had to go like 10 years without
touching Steak and Shake.
Yeah, I mean, I could recite the whole menu by memory. So
ain't that crazy?
Yeah, that's probably it.
I know y'all got like chefs now. Y'all got them cooking for y'all now.
These guys,
we were burning Steak and Shake fuel when we were playing against Michigan. Like,
hey, the best, man. So Garl, I got to tell this. We'll get on to your other questions.
Yeah.
So we're at Michigan. We said Michigan, made me think of it. So I get called into Garl's office. We get back. I get called into Garl. Garl's like, "Hey, man, I got a question." He goes, "How did you spend $14 at Steak and Shake at 2:03 a.m.? You know, when we were in Ann Arbor?" I'm like, and he's like, "Tell your boys to knock it off." So my buddies had gone out, right? And then they swung through Steak and Shake, went through the drive-through, got a bunch of cheeseburgers, and just signed our name on the check.
Michael Lou. No, I didn't know that story, man.
Because that's all we, you know, what we had like a $14 limit, man. You just signed the check, and so they just signed it, man. And that was great.
Game at Michigan, how'd that happen? Shout out Tim Garl, man. Still doing his thing at IU, man. The Cabbage Man.
Cabbage.
Who was your toughest? You played the tough position, man, and who was your toughest matchup?
Ooh, Well, Chauncey Billups gave me the business in the in-state tournament that one
All
day.
of us. Don't take that one on your own.
You know, I tell you what, my freshman year, man, we had Andre Woolridge was difficult for me, just because they were so strong.
Man,
right?
Dre had the one-hand crossover that I've never seen.
Oh man, he was
day.
good.
I never seen.
You could hand check, and I just remember like him and Q1 Garris at Illinois.
Yeah,
they just put their hand on my hip, and my coach would be like, "Get it to the right side," and I'm like, "I'm trying, man. I can't.
I can't move."
They're just holding me there, right? You know, those two guys were they were really. I mean, that and Bobby Jackson that year at Minnesota. You know, those were all guys that I'm like, "Oh man, I got." You know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as you get Scooney Penn was good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's just, I mean, it was like every night there was
every night. Team Cleaves.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guarded Charlie Bell all the time.
Yeah. I guarded Cleaves, but
I guarded Charlie Bell.
Cleaves never stopped, man. Like, dude, relax. Like, chill out. Charlie Bell running the lane before the ball.
Oh man, where'd he go? Hey.
Like, damn. But that's dope, man. What's your most memorable team win?
You know, beating Kentucky our senior year was cool.
Yeah, definitely. I can attest to that, definitely. We haven't beat them in 3 years. Well, since we have been there.
Yeah, beating Kentucky my senior year was cool. You know, that game we won in Mackey was good. You know, I remember that game because you came off the baseline. I'm up top, so you run into my left, and you had lost them. So it was just a matter of you getting to the corner and whether or not they switched the screen.
Yeah.
And I lofted over there. You caught it in the corner and you let it go. And so you're on the baseline. Your left side is the baseline, right? And the student section, and our bench is right behind you. Yeah. You let it go and just spun that way and started running right down. and so, you know, we won in Mackey. So that, you know, that was that. I remember that one. But
absolutely.
I would probably say that Kentucky win. That was such a cool environment there in the dome. There was cool.
Man, it was crazy because we beat 3 of the 4 Final Four teams that year.
Our senior year, yeah.
And we beat North Carolina.
We just didn't play.
And we beat Wisconsin and Michigan State. It was like, damn. Yeah. And did I know you've heard this, that we're the last team that won at Wisconsin? It's since
I hear it every year when they go up.
Bananas to me. I mean,
we should have won that. You know what? If they don't beat us on the last day of the season, our senior year, they don't make the tournament.
I remember that.
And they go to Final Four.
And we were up like 7 or 8 with like a minute and 45 left or something like that. Yeah, and then Dwayne happened.
Yeah, he went but yeah, they that's crazy. That's crazy because when we were playing, like you didn't lose it. You never lost to Wisconsin. So,
yeah, definitely.
They've obviously, you know, that's a program that, you know, nobody wants to hear it, you know, because IU views himself at a higher level than Wisconsin. But I think that's a program that Indiana can look at and how they do it and how can we get back. And then you just kind of you take what Indiana was and what we all think it can be. And, you know, you make that program on steroids, and then you get what I envision Indiana can be.
Definitely.
Start with that. Nobody wants to hear it, but start with that. Let's start with, let's be that first.
Yeah.
Right. And win. And then let's kick it up a notch and get back to who we're supposed to.
Absolutely. I felt like Wisconsin took the Indiana blueprint and just made it their own. I mean, Dick Bennett got there. He became about defense, moving the basketball, recruiting big 7-footers, 6'9" guys, setting screens, and they just became us. And they maintained it over the years, and just was considered a basketball team.
You never look forward to playing against Wisconsin. You know how difficult it was going to be.
That's what I told him, man. But okay, most memorable individual game.
I mean, I didn't have nights like you had, so you know, I don't know.
You had to have one where did you have a double? You ever get a double?
Yeah, I had a few double doubles. I had to get mine the hard way though. I had to rely on you making shots to get
right.
You know, again, I don't know. I think I'll probably go back to that Kentucky game my senior year.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
You know, I don't remember what I had, but you know, just. You know, I think I played well, and that stood out. And you know, there's so many.
There's a lot of them.
They all kind of run together now.
Yeah. But you've been busy too, man. As a coach, like you don't have time to reflect. I'm gonna have to send you some tape. It's
Send me,
plenty.
send me some
Plenty
tape.
of tape for you and your kids to go and enjoy.
The sad thing is I remember it's like, it's like I was destined to be a coach because I remember the losses.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember the losses. I remember the bad play I made. I remember I remember the front end of the 1-1 at Michigan State that I missed. That we should have won that game. Like that's the shit I remember, right? I remember that instead of some play that I may have made. So
right. I try to flush that shit. I try to be all right. I remember that 1-1 too, but we was right there. We should have won that game. And he did this, and this early in the game. So
we should have won there, and they should have won in.
Yeah, they sure should have.
They got burned by the air ball, the old blockout.
The old blockout air ball. and Scary Larry came in and had an impact on him. And you don't expect stuff like that. What role, 3 role places you love to walk into and compete? Besides, Mackey was one already. So
yeah, I liked going into Mackey. I liked St. Like we were interesting because we got to play in the old Wisconsin and the new Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
In the old Ohio State and the new Ohio State. I
like
like the old Ohio State. I like going into that place. The Breslin Center was good because you had 2 good teams competing against each other.
Yep.
I enjoyed going on the road. I kind of like that mindset. I kind of like that. Going on the road, and obviously we were a big draw because of Coach and everything that he had accomplished. So
right.
Any road game was one that I kind of enjoyed.
Absolutely, being the villain, man. What game did you break the assist record, and how did you feel after you realized that you was the all-time leading assist guy in Indiana basketball history?
I think it was the Pepperdine game. I think it was the last game.
Really?
I think it was the last game, and I think. I mean, I didn't feel great about it.
We didn't win, so
it was
killed that question.
In the career, and I didn't have, I knew I could probably, play overseas or something if I wanted. I knew my basketball wasn't over, but I knew what I envisioned basketball as for me was over. That game ended. But I did. I think it was the Pepperdine game because I think I only needed like one or two heading into that game. So. Right.
Okay. Cool. And
the question is, how many of those you think went to you?
Hey, that's a great question. You had about 5. Was it 545 or was it
5 something like that?
5 something. It had to be. I would say being realistic. I'll say about a little under half of those 200. I was about 200.
We played a lot of minutes together.
I know we did. From your you did that, and basically being full time for 3 years, not 4 years. That's what makes your record impressive. People think you started every game. I think you only started like 66 games.
I remember I started my first game of my career because we were getting ready to play UConn in the Dome.
He sure did.
We started Dre and Neil and you and me and Collier. So we started 3 freshmen, 2 juniors, and then I started the last game of my career. Now things get a little fuzzy in between there,
Right. But, definitely.
I was in and out, and I viewed it more as, all right, if the game's on the line, the last 5 minutes, am I in there?
Yeah, definitely.
That's when I knew, like, okay, are you an integral part of this team? And what it can be, successful or unsuccessful. Like, are you in the game when the game's on the line? And I always felt comfortable that I was in that position. So
yeah, well, like I said, what makes it impressive is you didn't do that whole 4 years. Yogi, who ended up breaking your record, he was a 4-year starter, played every minute.
And he's a lot better player than I was.
Right. It's like, but he got it done, and you got that thing done in less starts, less time, and all that. So that's
let's be honest. If Isaiah Thomas stays 4 years,
he's you're number 3, easy. You're number 3, easy. If Isaiah Thomas stays all 4 years. So and I'm number 5 on the scoring list and all that, everything else. So we know what it is. What's your most memorable Bob Knight moment as a player in game?
Oh, most memorable Bob Knight moment. I don't know. There were so many, and like I said, there's I remember like, like the little side moments, like the story I told earlier about, the feeding the post,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
or, different thing, like different, like individual meetings and things, that he, I remember those things. I remember walking off the bus, going to the NCAA tournament, our senior year, what ended up being our last game.
Mhm.
And I was one of the last guys off the bus, and as I was going down the stairs, he grabbed me and, stopped me and said a few words that I thought was really meaningful, right?
Right. Mhm.
You played 4 years, but those moments, the moments I got to see him, as a GA and different trips and things we were on, like
Mhm.
he is really, um, I mean, he's done a lot for so many of us, and we each have our own different individual relationship with coach, player, post, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I've always valued, and he's always been in my corner. I feel like he's always been in my corner. And like I said, like he gave me an opportunity to get in this crazy business, and so I work every day to try to show my appreciation for him, getting this whole thing kickstarted.
Definitely, man. And last question, man. What was it? What is your overall feeling about playing, being part of Indiana basketball?
Is best decision I ever made. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it and to think that I share it when I'm recruiting guys, like, this is not a 4-year decision.
Right.
It's not a 1-year decision. It's a 40-year decision, and I feel like I made a decision at 16, 17 years old to be a part of Indiana basketball. Just really not knowing what all it entailed. Just knew I wanted to, at that time, if you could play and you had a chance to go to Indiana and you're from Indiana, like, you're going to Indiana. Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So, and I didn't really understand what all that entailed, and to
Mhm.
be sitting here, what is it, 20? Like, what did we graduate? 21 years ago,
Yeah,
almost
21
22
years
years
ago.
ago. Jeez, oh my God.
Yeah.
Uh, and the things that Indiana, has provided, me, and like people, in this whole name, image, likeness, and all the different things, you know, kids are exploited. Like, I exploit Indiana every day, AJ.
Right.
Like,
Definitely.
I exploit Indiana every day. Like, it gave me an unbelievable opportunity to play basketball at that time at the highest level of college
Mhm.
basketball, to be
Yeah.
coached by what I consider one of the greatest coaches to ever coach.
Mhm.
Um, and it's also given me relationships, and like I said, a foundation to be successful. And I feel like, um, you know, I'm I've done I've continued to work to try to, um, exploit that foundation, and to
Yep.
be successful. And I hope that, someday that maybe Indiana's, proud that I was a part of their program.
Absolutely. And they will be, man. That concludes our Hoosier 10 with one of my partners, man, partners in crime, my backcourt mate, Mike Lewis, man. Thank you for joining the show. It took me, hey, these conversations go on and on and on, man. We did
Yeah,
almost 2 hours, man. So I got to let you get back to your family. I know you spend, even though it's COVID, you get a chance to spend the time with your family. So I know
yeah.
you appreciate that, man. And I
It
hope
is
the
good,
wife
man.
is
We're
doing
like
well.
like you said, we're on a pause, and,
Yep.
we got a team Zoom meeting this afternoon to try to, kind of get reorganized as we're going through this, and make sure everybody's got everything they need as we
Yep.
we head into Christmas. But, you get some of these unexpected breaks.
Yeah.
You gotta take advantage of it. Like,
Advantage of
I'm excited to kind of be home. I don't know how excited they are.
right.
Like,
No,
I
no,
don't know.
you messing up the
No,
routine.
messing up the whole routine. The whole routine. Like, yo, can you go back to work? Like,
Right. Okay. Wait till
um,
you go
but
back.
no, it is good, man. It's great to catch up with it. We need to do. We don't have to be on Zoom. We need to get together more, man,
Yep, definitely.
and get everybody back. And it's hard, I think, as you get older, like you talked about. Like,
Mhm.
you regret, like, we should have been hung out
Mhm.
more, but everything's going on and different things, and we
Yeah,
love each
yeah.
other so much.
Yep.
But, it's harder as you get older because everybody's got lives and kids and different things. But I do think for Indiana to get back to being what we all want it to be, uh,
Mhm.
we have to make a conscious effort to make sure we're doing our part to get back and do the things that we need to do to stay together,
Right.
as we try to rebuild this thing.
Absolutely, you're 100% correct, man. And those are regrets, man. They're just lessons that we
Yeah.
put into the next generation of kids. And so I remember guys used to come in and talk to us and former players. But one thing I don't remember being said as the message is like, that's got to be your brother at the end of the day. Like they talk about listening to coach, executing the game plan, all that XYZ. But nobody really talked about, hey, man, we got to be a family in order to make this work. And that's what we learn from. And but we still live
and really understanding what a family is.
Exactly.
Like it's not teddy bears and rainbows.
Exactly.
And you got to be cool with that. Right?
Yep.
But we can all grow and be better from it, man. But no, I appreciate you reaching out. I'm glad this worked out.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited about the future of what Indiana's got going, and hopefully we can get back and be chopping it up someday, talking about remember when we said
exactly. Remember when I'm gonna send you the film, man, so you can catch up a little bit.
Send me some films, man. Like I don't even know. Like our tapes they were on VHS.
Man. It was on VHS. I had to take them off VHS. I put them all on file, put them in a hard drive, and I put them on DVD just so we don't lose them, man. That's all we got at the end of the day. Our kids ain't your daughter and you're not gonna believe that you used to windmill in warmups. She's never gonna believe that.
I guarantee they don't, man.
So you're gonna put that tape in. All right, Coach Guyton sent me the tape. Here's the tape. Roll it. Hey, man, that's all we got at the end of the day. But no, thank you, man. I'll see you this summer. We'll get together, me, you, the squad, and we'll get up in Bloomington. Oh, or better yet, we get our plane tickets to come out there and sit by this poolside you got out there.
Hey, anytime. No, I told you, man. Like I got 2 kids in here and they're on Christmas break, and I couldn't have done this in there. They're too loud. Man.
Absolutely,
I'm not trying to, but it's just the good thing about living out here is you can escape outside and sit here and be comfortable. So
absolutely, get some IU beach chairs and we'll sit around, get a little fire going. We'll talk about IU basketball, 90s all the way up to today. But good luck to you, man. You got a great team out there, man. Hope to get through the COVID thing. You never know how that affects these young guys. And you get through and get right back on track. And hopefully you meet Indiana in the Final Four somehow. That you talking about a story. I'm bringing the computer down there for that one. That'll be dope. But thank you, man.
I appreciate it, man, and I wish you the best success and congrats on what your daughter's doing, man. You're obviously doing a good thing, raising another hooper there, man.
Absolutely, thank you, man. We'll keep it working, man. Hey, you enjoy.